Good morning. Well, we're on a different adventure today. We are here at Fort Frederica National Monument. And so far, what an amazing place. I'm going to show you some of the cool archaeological stuff that was found right after we check in here. But this is such a cool place. And when the folks first came here, they had to live in little houses like that. And eventually part of the deal was they had to build their own homes out here in front of me, which is where the town would have been on the back side of the fort. So I'm not going to get into all the details of the history of Fort Frederica, but I am going to tell you this is a pretty amazing national monument. This settlement, James Oglethorpe came here, and this was his first settlement in the States to protect the North for Great Britain from the Spaniards who were just south of here in Florida. So it was a really interesting thing. I strongly recommend coming out here. I'm going to show you some of the artifacts and ruins that are still left here, but again, I really encourage you, if you're in this area on St. Simon's Island, come on out here and check this place out. Don't miss the little movie that's in the beginning at the visitor center. So far we've met some really wonderful volunteers and some really great park rangers in this beautiful national monument. So we're going to keep cruising through. Take a look at this cool archaeology or relics they found, from archaeologists have found, coming right after I open up here, and then we'll stop at some spots along the way and wrap it up at the end. So let's get going. There's a hut. You can always pause and see that from right there. This is cool. I know what this is because I watched some this time frame reenactors on American Patriot. That is an oven, so that's pretty cool, and it is made out of this coquina. It's drawing a blank right now. This coquina rock, but pretty cool oven for baking and stuff like that. And as settlers came here, they were given a piece of land 60 by 90. They would have had to live in that for the first couple of years till they could build a house, but also they would have had their own garden on each of their plots too. So this is kind of a reenactment of I don't know if they would have had a container garden like this, but probably would certainly make sense. And my guess at a 60 by 90 lot, their garden wouldn't have been a whole lot bigger than this. So that's pretty cool. And every family would have their own setup here. They would build their little cheeky and then garden and eventually build a house. The other interesting thing, and again, as we go along, we'll talk about some cool things. People came here based on their trade. They were brought here because they were a blacksmith, or they were a cobbler, or they were whatever they were. There were no slaves here when they came. There were indentured servants. So if you couldn't afford to come to the New World, you generally had to be a servant, an indentured servant, without pay for 7 years. However, this group that came here was a little different. They came as I think they called it the company or something like that, and they pooled resources to come here. So most of the folks that came here were not even indentured servants. They came with the company, and they had their piece of land, and they were able to build this little town here, Fort Frederica, and we'll talk more about it as we cruise along. But when you got here, that's pretty much what you set up for a house. All right, let's keep going. So just a reminder, and there's a YouTuber I like to watch, the Trek Planner, who goes to ancient sites. And that's just a reminder, when you're at these ancient and historic and even prehistoric sites, preserving means don't touch. And so as you're near these ruins, of course, never get on any of the ruins. And if you see something like a piece of pottery or a shard, a pot shard, or a arrowhead or something like that, don't touch it. Leave it be. Keep track of where it is and let the rangers or people in the area know that you found it, but please don't touch it. It could be very important. So it's important that we protect and preserve these sites so that just like we're able to look at them now, future generations are able to come here and see the real history too. So just a little reminder. This is cool. Someone's been working on a dugout canoe. It's pretty awesome. And there's a little area here where it looks like a blacksmith could set up. That's kind of cool. So as you walk along, you're going to find these foundations of homes. And a nice story about most of them. It's amazing they know a lot about these people.
No.
I don't know. I have bug spray. So this is interesting, these big oak trees. You think, oh, were they here when the fort was built? Well, you can see these berms that they're on, that these berms were put in when the fort was put in. So these big giant oak trees are probably a couple of 100 years old, but certainly the fort was here before they were, especially this one, which is kind of right here in the middle of it. But there's some of the four corners of the fort, and there it is, what's left of Fort Frederica, right here on the Frederica River. I'll show you some without talking when we get inside. So one thing the rangers and volunteers told us is, you know, clearly most of this place has not been really checked, or I don't know what they would call it, explored for archaeology and stuff and for digs. But this is really cool. We have an active dig site here where no one's here today, obviously, but the archaeologists are working to unearth the history. And this is kind of cool because I'm sure this will be buried in to protect it once they're finished, like some of the other sites that we've seen. But we can actually see the tabby, and that's the name of those walls, the tabby walls. In the middle there's red bricks. And I think I mentioned earlier, but in the late 1700s, almost every building here was burned down. So the whole town burned down. Not really sure how, but it did. But I love it. Archaeology is, I just find fascinating and really cool. Anyway, let's keep going. So anyway, just a quick overview of beautiful Fort Frederica National Monument. And I really just wanted to kind of show you guys, to encourage you to come out here. You could easily spend half of a day at least out here looking at all the cool things. So I hope you enjoyed it, and We'll see you on the trail real soon. Happy trails, everybody. Bye-bye.